think a vast majority of people have either forgotten or didn't even know in the first place that Air Bud was a real dog. Years before that first movie even came out, Buddy was found as a stray in the Sierra Nevada mountains. His owner, Kevin DeChico, wanted to train him in a variety of sports.
And you and Air Bud put on quite an aerial show. Now here it is. So I mean, he goes off on the snap count and catches a football like this. It's like a winning touchdown drive. Look at that. I mean,
yeah, he can catch slap shots up to 70 miles an hour.
70 miles an hour.
Give you a good idea right here.
But the one he ended up becoming the most famous for and gained him the title of Buddy the Wonder Dog was basketball.
Look at that, right up.
And it makes sense. Even just the concept of a dog playing basketball is incredibly charming. Basketball feels like simultaneously the most realistic and technically impressive sport for a dog to play. And seeing Buddy in action felt magical. He got spots on America's Funniest Home Videos, he got spots on late night talk shows, he even got to cameo as Comet in an episode of Full House. Shoot. This dog went viral before being viral was even really a thing. Can you imagine if this dog was born in the 2020s? They would be making millions off of TikTok. Undoubtedly born in the wrong generation. Because instead of TikTok fame and ethically dubious gambling sponsorships, Buddy got a movie deal. Air Bud came out in 1997 and, well, it's a full feature-length film about a dog that can play basketball. Again, this concept feels like it would lend itself way better to fun little TikToks than it would a full 90-minute movie. And while it might seem like a stretch for one 90-minute film, this concept would go on to spawn a 12-movie franchise. Today, I'm going to be watching Air Bud, Air Bud Golden Receiver, Air Bud World Pup, Air Bud 7th Inning Fetch, Air Bud Spikes Back, Air Buddies, Snow Buddies, Space Buddies, Santa Buddies, Spooky Buddies, Treasure Buddies, and Super Buddies. The deep lore, the weird production quirks, and how this franchise eroded the legacy of one of the most talented dogs of all time. Also, I usually do video game stuff here, so this video is going to be a bit of an uphill battle against the algorithm. Any kind of engagement, likes, comments, hype points, subscribing would help a ton, especially if you want to see me do more weird shit like this. I'm trying to hit 100K before the end of the year and I'm super close, so I'd really appreciate it. The original Air Bud is a movie about grief and abuse. And a dog playing basketball, I guess. Let's speedrun the setup here. This is Norm Snively. You can tell by his vaguely gross sounding name that he will be the antagonist. Norm is a clown and his main act is Buddy, who can do some cool tricks. Norm is a miserable man and he mainly takes his anger out on Buddy, usually hitting him with a newspaper. As a result of Norm's carelessness and Buddy's horrible living conditions, he ends up falling out of the back of Norm's pickup truck and becomes a stray. This is Josh. He is sad. Man, I fucking wonder why he's sad. Josh, can you pull out the box of exposition, please? So yeah, Josh has just moved to a new town. He loves playing basketball. He loves playing basketball with his dad, and his dad is fucking dead. I think off rip, this is probably a little darker than most people would expect from the movie with this goofy ass cover. In fact, if you look for negative reviews of this movie, there's a decent amount of parents that are just mad that this movie is not really a kid's movie. But yeah, we can kind of fast forward through some of the typical Disney stuff. Josh feels isolated at school, but he decides to go to basketball tryouts. Despite going to tryouts, he doesn't actually participate. He loves basketball, but he also loved playing it with his dad. Josh doesn't want to love basketball without his dad, so he kind of wants to hold on to those memories. He gets kind of bullied a bit, becomes the water boy or team manager or something, and eventually he finds this abandoned basketball court. This is where he meets Buddy by, feeding him pudding? I guess it's fine. But yeah, boy meets dog, boy wants to keep dog secret from mom. Uh-oh, dog make big mess. Now mom is gonna be an asshole to her grieving son who has not shown this much joy in weeks. Eventually, Josh finds out that Buddy can play basketball, and now the movie gets pretty fun. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I unironically think that Buddy the dog is one of the best actors of all time. I mean, this dog is just super charming. He does a lot of impressive tricks in this movie, not even than just basketball. And craziest of all, Buddy acts this entire movie with no doubles. Like, for reference, in every other Air Bud movie, Buddy is played by at least 5 dogs. Generational talent. The scenes where Buddy is playing basketball are super fluid, and you just get to watch this talented dog do cool tricks, and it's undeniably fun. In terms of plot, eventually Buddy helps Josh find the confidence to play basketball and be a real kid again. And Josh gives Buddy the compassion and love to be a real dog again. So we find out the basketball coach is abusing kids. He's like hitting this kid after he lost the game-winning shot or whatever. The coach gets fired, and the nice janitor, who coincidentally used to be a professional basketball player, steps up. The bully ball hog leaves the team because the new coach wants him to pass the ball, but now that they're down a player, oh no, guess we need the dog to play. Wait, isn't there a rule against that?
Ain't no rules said the dog can't play basketball.
Oh, my bad. Side note, there is absolutely so many rules against this. Not even like considering the fact that it would be so fucked up if a kid just happened to be allergic to dogs. Like, to play on a school basketball team, you need to go to that school and be that age level. Even if Buddy is a registered mascot, he is not a student. Like, yeah, my school's mascot is LeBron James, so let him dunk on these 13-year-olds. And, like, spoilers, this dog canonically goes on to play sports at this high school and middle school for at least like 16 years, 3 generations of the Fram family. He is a super duper senior, bro. Someone's gotta make rules for this dog eventually, man. Buddy starts playing on the team and he makes news headlines, TV spots, which means that Norm eventually sees Buddy on TV and realized that that was his dog and that he could make a fortune off of him. Norm has Buddy's adoption papers, so I guess he's legally able to take him back. How do you even know that's your dog, man? Norm steals Buddy right before the big game, and Josh decides to steal him back. This chase scene is insane, by the way. Once Josh gets away, he decides to set Buddy free so that Norm can't get him again, which is just insane, man. He takes a boat out to this tiny island with no food on it and then strands a golden retriever there. They do the whole, like, if you love him, you gotta let him go thing with swelling music. You're supposed to feel so sad. You're leaving this dog to die, man. But somehow Buddy is the goat and not only swims all the way off the island, but finds his way to the championship basketball game and helps them make a crazy comeback. It's a feel-good moment until Norm comes back, takes this child to court over his dog, and then the judge says that the dog should decide. Yeah, Air Bud, kill that guy, kill him, rip his bones out, yeah! And that's how this movie ends. It has its issues, mainly with all the tropes going on. There's this whole like prayer scene going on around Christmas that just feels like it's ripped out of like 10 other movies. But I think that one, this story hits on some tougher emotions for kids than your average Disney movie, and 2, a dog playing basketball is fucking cool. This is a movie about grief and abuse. Josh spends a majority of this movie in a quiet and isolated grief. He barely talks to his mom, let alone his classmates. Buddy was an abuse victim, and while a newspaper might not be the most graphic depiction, you can tell what it's meant to symbolize. One detail I noticed on my rewatch that I didn't clock as a kid was this bit with Buddy stealing the newspapers. It's mostly presented as a goofy recurring gag where Buddy steals the morning paper before the mom's able to get it, and she just can't figure out what's happening to her newspapers. At a glance, it feels like a silly dog movie gag, but it actually is a way of showing how Buddy is damaged. The newspaper is a symbol of his abuse, and him stealing and hiding them away from his new family is like him trying to make sure that they can't treat him that way. There's just a lot more nuance going on in this movie than I remembered, and despite some parts that are a little tropey or uninteresting, I think Air Bud ends in a good place. Buddy escapes his abuser, Josh found a way to cope with this grief, they complete each other and in turn complete their arcs. After this movie aired, the real Buddy would soon pass away due to complications with synovial sickle cell sarcoma. A tragedy for sure, but I also just can't think of a better way for a dog to be immortalized than with his own feature film that he fully acted himself. But Disney didn't have time for dead dogs. They have sequels to make. Get that corpse on the milker, man. Going forward, Buddy's one-man show would be taken over by teams of 5 dogs per film. Now, Air Bud 2 Golden Receiver was a bit of a box office flop, and I don't think it's too hard to see why. Like I was talking about earlier, I want you to imagine a dog playing basketball. Baseline, it's just kind of intriguing. It's an incredibly technical sport that requires precision hand-eye coordination. Now, I want you to imagine a dog playing American football. It's a lot less fun, right? You either imagine a dog catching a ball, which is kind of normal, a dog running around with a ball in its mouth, which is also kind of normal, or... Who fucking does that? But there's much less mystery and intrigue here. Honestly, mostly a sense of dread thinking about it. A dog playing American football is just much less appealing in concept alone, and I wouldn't be surprised if just that prospect is what killed this movie in theaters. This movie starts with Josh and his family going to an NBA game. They tell Buddy to stay home, but because they're psychopaths, they leave their sunroof open and Buddy sneaks into the game. Then he runs around the court, making professional players flounder around like they're slipping on ice or something. The plot here is that Josh's mom wants to date again, and Josh is not very happy about it. He decides to join the football team almost exclusively to get out of the house and away from his mom and Patrick when they're together. There's a B plot here. These Russian animal hoarders are trying to steal talented animals. I think this might be the chimpanzee from Most Valuable Primate. I don't know. I haven't seen those movies. This B plot sucks. They want to be the wet bandits from Home Alone so bad. Just cartoonishly evil, so they have to get owned by overplayed slapstick. Every time they're on screen, it feels like a waste of time. I liked Norm as an antagonist in the first movie because he's just an abusive dog owner. He's cruel, but it's also realistic. Underground Russian animal hoarders who are extremely incompetent, staking outside of kids' houses and fake ice cream trucks just feels empty and forgettable.
Hello, I'd like an ice cream bar. And my sister would like a chocolate swirl.
Surprise, surprise, when Josh is having trouble playing football, he suddenly finds out, what? Buddy can play football?
Oh man, you can play football? Holy cow.
Buddy gets on the team, it's cute, but undeniably lacks the original wow factor you got from basketball. At the end of the day, we're just watching a dog outrun children, you know? Complete side note, but the way that children's American football is portrayed in movies is always so funny because where the fuck is this kid coming from? Buddy somehow carries the team to the state championship game, but before that, Josh walks in on Patrick proposing to his mom after like, what has it been, like 2 months? Jeez, man. Okay. He gets upset. He runs away from home. His coach finds him at the train station and I think gives the best scene in the entire movie. I really loved how the first movie could touch on these complex emotions of grief that a child might not understand. And I think this scene is the one time in the sequel that they actually get to tackle anything remotely similar.
He's not my dad, all right?
No, I guess he isn't. And you loved your father very much. Theoretically, you know, if you weren't running away, what would you be doing?
I don't know. Probably play basketball or something.
Boy, I would have thought the way you got into football, basketball was out.
I never said it was out. I still love basketball. It's just that I love football, too.
How's that possible?
And you can...
You like this guy, Patrick, Josh? Doesn't mean you gotta stop loving your father, you know.
Anyways, Air Bud got captured by the evil Russians. Oh no, he's gonna be late for the game. If only there were some wacky hijinks that could get him out of there. What is wrong with this horse, man? They're losing the game, Air Bud returns, they start winning the game, the thing you are dreading throughout the entire movie happens, and that kid fucking goes for it, man. Holy shit. Playing football against a dog has to suck so much, man, because the dog is naturally faster than you. But if you do catch the dog and you tackle him, that is social suicide. Everyone's gonna hate your guts, man. There's no winning. You lost the second Air Bud got on the field. Air Bud is injured, but he watches from the sideline as Josh makes the game-winning throw. Wow, beautiful and original. Josh and Patrick make up, and then Air Bud runs onto the field during an NFL game, and then the movie ends before we can watch security tackle him and break his ribs. In the end, I feel like Air Bud Golden Receiver didn't have a lot to say. I find the train station scene endearing, but I really don't think the rest of the movie has much appeal over the first beyond just football. Again, I think Air Bud 1 has dog playing basketball as a central focus, but they realize that concept alone isn't enough to make a competent movie. Dog playing football would be a great TikTok, but the comedy doesn't land. The dog acting is a bit less charming. I don't know, maybe that's a boomer take. Maybe I'm nostalgia blind. And the side plots feel like a waste of time. The entirety of the movie feels like a reskinned retread of the first, but worse, right? I mean, minus the exposition the first one had to do of finding Buddy and all of that. Josh joins sport, kind of an outcast, finds out dog can play sport, dog plays sport at practice, dog joins team, dog carries the team to the championship, dog missing during the first half of the game, dog arrives just in time for a crazy comeback, and dog supports Josh in making the game-winning play. This arc doesn't really work here because the reason Josh was an outcast to begin with was because of his grief, because he was scared to play basketball without his dad. In this movie, he's shown to be pretty naturally talented. He has no real aversion to football, and after the first movie, it seems kind of weird that he wants to be a bench warmer, right? Josh is playing quarterback. Is Buddy's ability to catch a ball despite a massive height disadvantage so crazy that Josh can't throw a ball to a human anymore? Like, why were they losing in the first place? I think the first movie works wonderfully as a standalone film. It's a kid's movie that isn't afraid to delve into complex emotions, and I think that Josh not only overcoming his grief, but learning to find joy in what used to remind him of it is powerful for a kid's movie. As far as I'm concerned, Josh's story was already told. One thing I will say that I do like about this movie compared to some of the later ones is that these dogs are still doing the tricks. It might seem like a low bar, but them playing basketball at the beginning, catching footballs, I like watching real dogs do real tricks. And as we continue down this rabbit hole, that will, believe it or not, start to get way more rare. But you can already kind of see by movie 2 the direction this franchise will be heading towards in the next 10. Air Bud World Pup is the soccer one. You remember that movie we just watched like a little bit ago? This is the same movie, but with soccer this time. But this time straight to DVD. This movie feels like they looked at the past two movies and thought, what if we had more tropes and less dogs actually playing sports? Air Bud playing soccer is still kind of charming, but like at the end of the day, we're just watching a dog chase a ball, man. Or we get stuff like this that's just fake. I really do think a huge draw of the original movie was real tricks. As a side note, after Air Bud has taken 2 championships in other sports, specifically due to the lack of a rule preventing him from competing, you'd think some of these other sports would start drafting Air Bud rules, right? Like, especially in the same county or whatever. Football had an excuse because maybe they just thought he was only a basketball specialist. But at this point, everyone should know by now that Air Bud is a multi-sport threat. There is actually this side plot about how one of the coaches of the other teams that gets beaten by Air Bud is actually able to get Air Bud banned from the league, and everyone treats him like a villain for that, but like, he's right, man.
Has decided to disqualify your team.
What?
Why?
You can't do that. Oh, come on, Jack. That's ridiculous. And for your information,
It's really not.
You have to play by the rules, son.
So what, you kicked that team off because they had a dog?
Why is everyone against banning a dog from competing? It's dangerous for the kids. It's dangerous for the dog. What if he takes a shit on the field? Who is cleaning up Air Bud's shit on the field? If I'm a high school referee, I don't want to clean up dog shit, man. All right, here's the plot. Josh takes his little sister to soccer practice and proceeds to creep on her coach for like the entire 2 hours. Jesus, Josh, come on, man. Be a creep literally anywhere but a little girl's soccer practice. Josh's story in World pup is that he has a crush on this British girl, so he joins the co-ed soccer team to spend more time with her. And listen, you might have brushed past the fact that I said she was British, but be warned, she's really fucking British.
It's a nice place.
You have to forgive me. We're absolutely higgledy-piggledy right now.
Oh.
Josh in this movie is the exact nervous Disney boy you've probably seen in 100 other movies. It's actually annoying. Like, sure, do your oogling, stutter and stuff, whatever, but I cannot stand this trope where the boy asks a girl on a date, his incel friends tell him that girls love bad boys, so the boy acts like an asshole all night and cannot parse the absolutely atrocious vibes he's creating.
So, you like this school thing so far?
Yeah.
Figure I'll put in another year and then hop on my hog and hit the road.
But anyways, enough about the Josh plot. This is the movie where Air Bud got busy. Air Bud and the British girl's dog Molly have puppies, and these are the Air Buddies. Yep, all 6 of them. Kind of. We'll talk about it later. Wow, puppies, so cute, so wonderful. But unfortunately, there needs to be a cartoonish villain side plot, so these guys want to steal the puppies. And they do. I guess we're gonna have to save the puppies instead of going to the championship game. My favorite part of this entire side plot is that Josh got a random dog whistle from his stepdad that just apparently summons every dog in a 20-mile radius, and it gave us this shot. This shot's awesome because those dogs are supposed to be intimidating and vicious towards the villains. They all just look like they spawned in and don't know how they got there. They clearly didn't have enough dogs because they superimposed a few of them multiple times. It's great. I made a gif of it. We need more Air Bud gifs, man. Anyways, beautiful day. We saved the puppies and we made it back just in time for the final quarter of the championship game. They very clearly wanted to do the same montage sequence with a buzzer beater finish to win the game, but I don't know if anyone told them that that's not how soccer works. At the end of the timer in a soccer game, they usually add a few minutes to account for the time lost to fouls and subs and stuff. Yeah, but you know, whatever, man. However, this movie doesn't end there because Air Bud actually got recruited to be a substitute goalie for the Women's World Cup team. He then gets to make the game-winning save in a penalty shootout in the World Cup. If there isn't already a problem at the high school level, pro leagues in every sports should seriously start drafting their Air Bud rules now. I just really don't like this ending in particular because one, it's obviously really unrealistic, but also it's heavily relying on spectacle. Wow, this dog is so good at soccer that he can win a Women's World Cup game. But it's such a hollow spectacle because of how fake it is. Like, we had spectacle in the original movies. It was just dogs doing cool tricks. Air Bud making this foul shot in high school basketball is way more impressive than Air Bud making the game-winning save in the Women's World Cup. But now the dogs can't do tricks anymore. We gotta make something up instead because that'll be fun. Air Bud 4 7th inning fetch. You want to do the thing? Imagine a dog playing baseball. It doesn't fucking work, right? Sure, a dog can catch a ball, but hitting a ball is just so impractical that you know it's gonna be more faked garbage. We open Air Bud the baseball one in a fucking laboratory, where scientists are analyzing Air Bud's DNA to find out that he and his offspring have the sports gene. So they want to capture Air Bud, extract the gene, and then sell it so that anyone can be good at sports. Something that I found interesting about the Air Bud movies is that the main character kept growing up. Like in the first movie, Josh is just a little kid, but by Air Bud 4, he's moving off to college. Disney isn't done milking money out of this dead dog though, so Josh's little sister Andrea kind of takes up the mantle. Andrea's story is that she doesn't want Josh to leave for college, and she is starting high school. Classic Disney Channel first day of high school stuff ensues, but at the end of the day, Andrea and her friend Tammy just don't know which extracurricular to do. Side note, remember those 6 Air Buddies that were born last movie? Now there's only 4 of them. I don't know if 2 of them died off screen or something, but these puppies are pretty big now. I'd say for like a golden retriever, probably like 1 to 2 years old. Their names are Striker, Duke, Shooter, and Zach. Remember these names because these puppies will absolutely get retconned again later. Air Bud's 4 puppies as inheritors of the Air Bud gene get kidnapped one by one, and man, I really don't understand how. You see, these dog nappers have this raccoon that holds keys, and that leads to the dogs getting trapped. I don't understand the intention here. Like, why do the dogs want keys? It makes sense if he was luring them with treats or something, but like, why are these just the keys that trap dogs, man? I don't get it. Anyways, Andrea and Tammy decide to join the baseball team. Andrea's surprisingly not very good at this sport that she's never played in her life, but Tammy is kind of the GOAT. Tammy is so good that she tells the coach, if you don't put my dookie ass friend on this team, I will walk. And it works. Now, at this point, I wouldn't blame you if you thought you were watching the wrong movie, because now we have a Tammy montage. Like those cheesy montages they've done in every movie with the newspaper titles and everything. Now it's about Tammy. I'm sorry, I clicked on the dog playing baseball movie, not the fucking Tammy movie, man. You know what? Let's play a fucking game. Air Bud 7th Inning Fetch, aka Air Bud the baseball one, the movie where a dog plays baseball. It's roughly 90 minutes long. How long do you think it takes for the dog to hit a baseball in the movie where a dog plays baseball? It takes 50 minutes. 50 fucking minutes. And yes, it looks probably about as shitty as you would have imagined. What is even the point of making these dog playing sports movies if half the movie the dog doesn't even play the sport? This is the Tammy playing sports movie with an Air Bud cameo. To the audience's utter dismay, Tammy gets injured, which means that Andrea can't sit on the bench anymore. Her whole team hates her guts, and she is very upset that she is not good at this sport that she's never practiced. Andrea, you fucking... Eventually, 50 minutes into the movie, Andrea finds out that, what? Her dog can play baseball? And suddenly deciding to actually practice for once actually made her better at baseball. Like, anyone can put balls in a pitching machine, Andrea. You really didn't need Buddy for this. Anyways, while that was happening, all the puppies have been kidnapped by the same shiny keys trap, and then the villains kidnap Buddy right in front of Andrea. I love how pacifying nets are in this universe. This is scientifically proven to be one of the most athletic beings on the planet. There is no universe where he lets you just carry him like that. Anyways, Andrea rescues Buddy and the puppies just in time for the end of the championship game, where Buddy helps them make a miraculous comeback. Some truly groundbreaking stuff going on here. There's a cute moment where Andrea finds out that Josh came back to watch her big game, but yeah, who cares about that when Buddy gets to make the game-winning out for the LA Angels in the World Series. I think there's a lot of reasons why this movie is boring. I mean, beyond just the dog not playing fucking baseball for half the movie, but you compare this movie to the first one. Josh has a real emotional connection to basketball, and finding the desire to play it again through his friendship with Buddy is heartwarming. You want Josh to enjoy the things he used to enjoy again. Andrea's story feels very flat because Andrea doesn't even like baseball. She is playing it because Tammy suggested it on a whim. She doesn't seem to enjoy it at all half the time and is only playing for Tammy's sake. She isn't overcoming anything like Josh's grief to improve. She just decides one day to go practice and improve. Andrea has some emotional moments throughout the movie, but none of them really manifest into anything. She misses Josh and she feels neglected because her parents had a new baby. These aren't really feelings that get resolved other than Josh and the parents showing up to her championship game. There's no payoff for the 50 minutes of exposition where the dog doesn't fucking play baseball. Air Bud Spikes Back is the final movie in the Air Bud quintology. Now, the big difference with this movie is that it takes place over the summer, so we can't have a school championship game or anything, but everything else pretty familiar. We've got the dopey criminals that need to kidnap a dog. This time they're jewel thieves, and they've decided that the only way to get a jewel past this laser grid would be to have a dog go through this vent. Can't you just like bribe a kid with 20 bucks or something? But yeah, Tammy moved away. It's very sad. And Andrea wants to save up money to get a flight to see Tammy in California. She decides to pet sit for a while, and then her grandma's dumbass parrot starts meowing and leads every dog on a destruction-fueled rampage through the town. Kind of going back to how the dog tricks have gotten progressively faker and less impressive with every movie, this parrot is actually voice acted by a human. Like, you couldn't even train a parrot to do the parrot thing. A little side note here, this is Noah, the baby from the last movie. This kid is way too young to be acting. His line deliveries are very funny. So Andrea decides to pick up a new sport that she has no connection or experience in, and is surprised she is bad at it. This newspaper clip is insane to me. Can you imagine being a 16-year-old girl, or however old she's supposed to be, and being on the front page of the newspaper and the article says Andrea struggled? Diabolical. Andrea eventually improves, and Air Bud gets to hit a volleyball 56 minutes into this 83-minute film. Someone needs to get Air Bud a fucking security team on the day of the big game. This is the 5th time he's been missing during the big game, man. At this point, it's your fault. This kidnapping is heartbreaking though. Like, come on, man. This kid just wanted to give him ice cream. Air Bud starts stealing the gem and then decides to own the jewel thieves, makes it back in time to make a miraculous comeback. Now, Andrea and Tammy get to watch Air Bud win the Malibu Beach Professional Volleyball Invitational together. The series kind of reached a boiling point here. It's all become way too formulaic. Cartoonish villains with dumb motivations and a junky car that falls apart. The kid joins a new sports team, bad at first, but with the help of my sports dog, team become good. Then dog gets kidnapped during the championship game. We start losing, and then dog shows up just in time for a miraculous comeback. Play the fucking music, baby. And then the dog gets to play at the professional level for some reason. Like, I get that Air Bud is good at high school baseball, but do you really need him to play first base just to catch a ball in his mouth? You definitely have guys for that. Can you imagine being the first baseman who's worked his entire life to play in the World Series, and the coach benches you for a fucking dog because he won one high school championship? I want a movie about that guy. And it also doesn't help that each movie takes longer and longer for the dog to play the sport in the movie about the dog playing the sport. In just 5 movies, all emotion has been sapped from these scripts. Air Bud 1 is a movie about grief and abuse. Air Bud 5 is a movie about missing Tammy. All the charm of the original has been slowly sapped away. From really fun shots of a dog playing basketball to dogs catching footballs, maybe dogs running around a soccer field, now we're just jump cutting to imply that a dog did something. Why should we actually train dogs to do impressive things in movies about dogs doing impressive things? That's a waste of time, effort, and money. It hurts to see a franchise have everything it was built on be slowly sapped away in a Disney straight-to-DVD sequel generator. But while this is the end of the Air Bud quintology, we do have 7 more movies in this franchise. You remember those Air Buddies I talked about in 7th Inning Fetch? I sure hope you remember all 4 of their names like I told you to, because after a brief hiatus in Spike's Back, where they aren't even so much as mentioned, I don't know, did they, maybe they're dead in that movie? I don't know. They make their triumphant return in their new spin-off movie, Air Buddies. So from 6 dogs to 4 dogs to 0 dogs, now we have 5 dogs. Their names are Butterball, B-Dog, Mudbud, Rosebud, and Buddha. Air Bud's wife has also been retconned from being her dog to now belonging to the family across the street. When they're introducing the buddies in this movie, they reuse a shot from World Pup, which is weirdly masked into a different room, but that's besides the point. This shot shows all 6 original puppies, so that means this isn't like a second litter of puppies. This is the same Molly, and that 6th puppy is technically canon in the Air Buddies universe. Did they die? In the ending scene of World Pup, there's also only 5 puppies watching the TV, and they do look much older there than in the Buddies movies. So I guess sometime between the end of Josh's soccer season and the Women's World Cup finals, one of the puppies died off screen, and they never talk about it ever. Now, the big difference between the Air Bud series and the Air Buddies is that the dogs can now talk. Yeah, it was 2006, might as well hop on that wave, right? The CG dog talking trend is very funny in retrospect because this has always looked so uncanny and gross. Why was this popular? Despite knowing that this was a talking dog movie, it still really did catch me off guard that Air Bud talked in this one. Now it feels like a fantastic time to talk about the recasts in these movies. The mom from Air Bud 1 did not return in Air Bud 2, and the mom from Air Bud 2 did not return in Air Bud 3, but actually the mom from Air Bud 2 returned for Air Bud 4, 5, and the Buddies. Patrick the stepdad was introduced in Air Bud 2, new actor in Air Bud 3, new actor in Air Bud 4, another new actor in Air Bud 5, and finally returns to the actor from Air Bud 4 for the Buddies movies. He also looks the least like the original actor. It's not too weird for Andrea to have 3 different actresses in the first 3 movies. I mean, the character is like a baby in Air Bud 1. But then, after the Andrea from Air Bud 3 becomes the main character in Air Bud 4, they recast her in Air Bud 5? This series is so confusing. Actors are just casually hopping in and out as they please. Alright, so plot. Air Bud is playing basketball for a 3rd straight generation of Fram kids. While everyone is at the game, the Air Bud nanny, whose name I don't feel comfortable saying,
I prefer the professional distinction of nanny, if you don't mind.
Hello, buddy.
Hi, Mrs. Niggles.
I'm serious.
what? Is watching the Buddies when she falls asleep and they decide to wreak havoc. When everyone comes home to the giant mess they made, the family decides that they need to find new homes for each puppy. This is Barnaby. He wants Air Bud for his birthday, and he has 2 cartoonish henchmen that are going to try to get him. The henchmen capture the puppies and then use the puppies as bait to capture Air Bud and his wife. Again, these nets are insane, and now the puppies have to save their parents. Overall, this movie actually felt kind of refreshing. Not great by any means, and maybe that's only because I've been watching Air Bud movies up until this point, but you know, it's nice to see something different. New plot, new structure, new music. It's a classic Disney Channel romp. Puppies are running around, it's fun. These villains are still generic and stupid, but they are also subject to some of the worst fates, like strung up like 20 feet in the air in front of a projector screen, getting shit thrown at them, and left there overnight. It's actually kind of horrific. Now, Air Bud and Molly actually escape by themselves, but on the way out, they meet with Deputy Sniffer, who, I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier, is the only dog in this movie they didn't do the gross CG mouth thing on. They just kind of made him chew on something. It somehow looks less natural than the actual fake dog talking. Deputy Sniffer tells the parents that the puppies just went in to save them, so now they go back for the puppies. Barnaby is ecstatic that he gets 5 puppies for his birthday, but is eventually thwarted, and he hits this amazing line delivery. I was kind of slacking on the gift thing before, but we're fucking back now. Now the puppies realize that they would like to make kids happy, so Butterball goes with Barnaby, and the other 4 find other kids. These kids absolutely get recasted in every single movie. Then the movie ends with them fake howling at the moon together. Just let the puppies howl. I promise you it'll be way cuter. Now, I'm kind of torn on this first movie because my whole thesis here is kind of abandoning the real dog aspects as one of the big things that made each sequel to the original Air Bud less enjoyable to me. And while you can't get much faker than dogs speaking human English with CG lips, this movie actually feels less fake than 7th Inning Fetch or Spike's Back. We still get to see puppies running through fields. Puppies are actually crawling into tight spaces, jumping, doing their own stunts. Butterball gets wasted in a vat of wine. For what it's worth, I was actually willing to put up with a couple quirky Marvel puppy quips to get a movie that felt a little more inspired and authentic. So now let's talk about how Disney killed 5 dogs. Snow Buddies is kind of an infamous film, but if you don't happen to know the story, this is a movie that takes place in Alaska, so they decided to film it during the winter in Canada. These puppies are super young. In case you aren't aware of how fast golden retrievers grow, this is what one looks like after just 6 months. There's regulations in place so that puppies must be at least 8 weeks old to be used in a film production. villain. So naturally, some of these dogs are 6 weeks old. 6-week-old puppies galloping through real snowstorms, probably some of the weakest immune systems you could possibly have in this situation, and there was also a very contagious virus outbreak in the area. Every single one of the original batch of 30 or so puppies got sick. Disney ordered 28 more. When all was said and done, at least 40 dogs were sick and 5 died. And for what? For this boring movie that just retreads the same thing the first one did? Now we're in the snow?
Don't pull his paw!
So yeah, in this movie, the buddies wander into an ice cream truck and get shipped to Alaska. This had to be at least 4 of those deaths right there. They're found by this husky puppy whose owner dreams of entering a dog sledding race. They meet this guy and then they train for the dog sled race. There's death number 5. So this movie is about forcing 6-week-old puppies to pull a sled during snowstorms. Got it. Can we fire Robert Vince for this one? I haven't talked about Robert much, but he's been a contributor and writer for pretty much every movie up to this point. I don't know why they kept letting him cook, because this man was churning out slop. Anyways, Buddy and Molly are worried about the buddies, so they actually get in the same ice cream truck to get to Alaska to look for them. The best part of this movie is easily the villain. He's a rival dog sled racer, and the best way I could describe him is he's kind of like Wario. He loves cheating and winning more than he actually likes racing, so he will just go out of his way to slow down and basically try to kill people while giggling maniacally. Probably the first villain since Norm that I actually kind of fuck with, but for completely different reasons.
Those puppies won't survive one night in that storm.
Crazy line to leave into this movie. But yeah, the puppies are on track to finish the race, and then the villain's dogs fall into the frozen lake. Unbelievably dangerous, right? Like, I can't believe they actually filmed this. The puppies stop racing to help the dogs, and then the dogs try to kill their owner, and everyone is happy. The puppies get to go home, and then they reuse the exact same ending from the first movie.
Even though we may feel alone, we never really are.
When you feel doubt, these lights will remind you that you're never really alone.
At this point, I was thinking, well, we got one movie with a fresh new idea. Guess it's time to turn that into 6 more of the same exact movie, just like they did with the original Air Bud. But this series actually starts to make some drastic changes at this point. There must have been some sort of crackdown after the production nightmare of Snow Buddies, because Space Buddies is a full movie where puppies just sit in chairs for like an hour and a half. Space Buddies is a movie where 5 puppies accidentally sneak onto a NASA spaceship, and then NASA unknowingly launches them into space. They refuel at a Russian space station and run around there for a while before recruiting Sputnik. He's the dog in this awesome GIF I just made. The dogs go to the moon, and it's beautiful, man. This movie is when they started to get really bold with their CGI. Like, why actually film puppies in our movie about puppies when we can just make fake puppies? Then we don't even have to worry about the American Humane Association. It's kind of fucking genius. The puppies get back to Earth safely, the kids are happy. Notably, Air Bud and Molly are nowhere to be seen. I find it hard to believe they didn't know about this. It was on the national news, and it's not like they don't care. They literally risked their lives getting to Alaska last time. Are they dead in canon? No, the buddies still talk about them. But yes, Snow Buddies is the last canonical appearance of Air Bud in his own franchise. You might notice that I'm talking about these movies less and less, and it's mainly because these movies have less and less to talk about. Everybody is just a personification of a trope. Choose your fighter, the fat one, the gangster one, the dirty one, the girl one, the zen one. Like, do you care that the villain in this movie was trying to crash the spaceship with 6 dogs on it so he can make his boss take the fall? Do you care that this ferret was telling the puppies how to land a spaceship? Nothing ever happens. They reuse the same jokes.
Robot arm engaged.
Easy.
I'm just trying to Get moving here. Santa Buddies is the Christmas one. Santa Claus and his dog Santa Paws are worried that the Christmas icicle is melting and people are starting to lose faith in Christmas. And hey, you know what? I'm happy they learned their lesson about forcing 8-week-old puppies to film in the snow, but man, if my establishing shot looked like this, I would not be using it this much. Puppy Paws, the son of Santa Paws, wants to be a normal puppy, so he sneaks into a magic mail truck and hitches a ride to the buddy's hometown. He proceeds to wreak havoc in every one of the buddy's homes. This B-Dog scene can speak for itself, I think.
Watch and learn, cuz. I call this the 4-paw pop. It's in the Boogaloo Jaw drop to the tail rotation for the B-Dog Nation. I call this the Prince Robin Bob to the spinning toy top. The shiny toy train.
The buddies get annoyed with Puppy Paws and makes him run away, and then he gets dog-napped and taken to the pound. At the pound,
no one cares about Christmas anymore.
We do. The hope for a Christmas miracle is all we have.
oh, please don't start singing.
Every night I look up.
Yeah, the puppies rescue him and apologize for being mean, and then they pull a magic sleigh all the way home to the North Pole, and it looks fucking stunning. Because the reindeer are sick, the puppies get to pull the sleigh to deliver all the presents, and we get to see various stereotypes. If I had a nickel for every time Robert Vince wrote a movie about 6-week-old puppies pulling sleighs, I would have 2 nickels, but it's weird that he fucking did it twice. This one sure is a Disney Christmas movie, and there isn't much more to say about it. Now, a lot of you may know that there's actually 2 more Santa Paws movies, and you might be wondering why I'm not going to be talking about them today. And while they might technically be canon in the Air Bud universe because of Santa Buddies, they aren't actually considered Air Bud movies. Every Air Bud movie has this splash text at the beginning based on the character Air Bud, and these other Santa Paws movies don't have that. So as much as I would love to watch 2 more Santa Paws movies, I fear my hands are tied here, man. But you really start to wonder how much that based on the character Air Bud text even really matters at this point. Because we start Spooky Buddies in the year 1937, where Warwick the Warlock is attempting to sacrifice 5 puppy souls of the same bloodline to summon the Halloween Hound, who can open a portal to the Netherrealm. Are we sure this one is based on the dog that plays basketball? What about Treasure Buddies, where 40 years prior, Air Bud's father, the digging one, is on an archaeology expedition in Egypt, and he finds 1/2 of the bronze bastet, which is half the key to Cleopatra's tomb, which holds Cleopatra's necklace, which Cleopatra tried to use in ancient times to make Cat's man's best friend, when she was stopped by Air Bud's ancient ancestor, Budassi. Yeah? Still with me? Super Buddies is a movie about how Captain Megasis, a planet in Spyron, has to crash land on Earth to prevent the warlord Commander Drex from obtaining the 5 rings of Inspiron to take over the galaxy. Is this still based on the character Air Bud? I don't see a lot of fucking basketball going on here. These last 3 movies really kind of go off the rails. I like to clump them together as the final weird as fuck trilogy. Like, I guess at least they're not retreading the exact same plots anymore, but holy fucking shit, Robert. What is wrong with you, man? There's actually a recent interview with the director of the first movie, Charles Martin Smith, who shared that he actually didn't even want to do this movie at first at all, but he agreed to do it on one condition. He said, and I quote, "If you let me work on this and turn it from a gimmick movie into a really honest story of a boy and his dog with no CGI, nothing fake, and we emphasize the boy and his dog, I would be willing to do it." When asked about all the sequels, he said, "I didn't want anything to do with them," and he hasn't even bothered to watch them. It's pretty easy to get the impression that Robert just saw dollar signs and ran away with this franchise alone to squeeze every ounce of profit out of it, leaving behind the people who seem to actually care about filmmaking and storytelling, and leaving behind the principles that built this franchise in the first place. It's hard to focus on this franchise and see anything other than the greed and corruption that infected it. I mean, the differences in philosophies are incredibly clear just by watching these movies. I wanted to take a brief moment to talk about time in these movies. In the first 5 Air Bud movies, the human characters continue to grow up, middle school, high school, then going away to college, but Air Bud's age is always kept ambiguous. I'd say it's realistic for Air Bud to be in athletic shape through Josh's movies, but by the time we get to Andrea, this dog would be old and slowing down, and for Noah, this is a goddamn miracle. It's a strange inconsistency that, granted, you can very easily ignore, but the buddies on the other hand just make absolutely no sense. They age up in the movie they were introduced in because golden retrievers just don't stay small for that long. They continue to age in 7th inning fetch, but then they're aged down for the buddies movies where they just stay there stagnant in time. But in this universe, they stay like this for at least a full year. I assume probably longer, but we can confirm at least a year because we have a Halloween movie come after a Christmas movie. In these movies, the kids also don't really age either. When the actors get too old looking, Disney just swapped them out for new ones. It feels counterintuitive for a series that continually has themes of growing up to ignore the realities of growing up. Sure, the buddies can learn to mature in multiple ways. Josh can learn to cope with his lingering feelings about his father and grow to accept his stepfather, but the dogs? No, they need to stay this pristine example of youth and athleticism. If you wanted to pump out a bunch of movies centering around the life of a dog that typically lives roughly 12 years, why would you intentionally make them span like 20 years in canon? Why does no one question this dog's immortality? God forbid we have to use anything other than the youngest dogs we can get our hands on in our marketing material. Part of what made this franchise grow so stale both times was this unwillingness to let things grow and change. Just one more movie about cartoonish villains and Air Bud winning a championship game. Please, this one will do numbers, I swear. I'm not gonna go super in depth about these last 3 movies because I feel like I've been kind of beating a dead horse for the last 20 minutes. But here are some things that I think you deserve to know. Spooky Buddies is oddly Christian. I mentioned that the first movie had this overdone prayer scene for Christmas, but ever since they've definitely toned that back. In Spooky Buddies, Warwick the Warlock is unable to chase the characters into a church because of God, and they're eventually able to defeat him by replacing his spell book with the Bible and making him read a verse.
Father, who art... Wait a minute. This is not my spell book.
It's the Bible.
Treasure Buddies is definitely the most boring of the weird trilogy, but it has some awesome CGI going on towards the end, and I like this shot of Butterball chewing on explosives. I made that one a gift. Super Buddies. Man, Super Buddies, I find this movie fascinating because they clearly wanted to make a different movie, but they were on Buddies duty that week. The Buddies format does not fit with your typical superhero action. You know, usually superheroes do things, but the Buddies like to walk up to a set piece and just stand there and talk. The CGI in this one is pretty goofy. The stretchy CGI is my favorite. The alien CGI looks really gross. These movies also feel a lot stiffer compared to the rest. Like, sure, Space Buddies and Santa Buddies use a lot of CGI, but I feel like every scene in these last 3 movies is like when you're walking up to a cutscene trigger in an RPG. In every establishing shot, the buddies stand in a circle, and then we get these boring shot reverse shots of them talking. Even when they're supposed to be in danger, they just stand still. We barely get to see puppies do anything anymore. At this point, they're essentially just puppets for the really bad dialogue.
Yo, Butterball, when I tell you, let one rip.
Do it, dog!
No, this can't be happening.
Really? It's kind of a complete and utter degradation of what the first movie stood for. We start with Air Bud, a movie that taps on harder emotions for kids, and a movie with a really impressive dog trick as the main attraction. Over the original quintology, we lose those emotional moments in favor of quirky one-note villains and tricks that were mostly faked, feats that weren't real anymore. We lose that sense of grounded reality until that original franchise bubbles over and becomes stale, a mismatched skeleton trying to cobble together even fractions of the original cast to just do the same thing one more time. It birthed the Buddies, which while unique from that original series, leaned into a different type of falsity. Puppies talking is probably the complete opposite in appeal to a dog genuinely doing a fun trick. The Buddies would push more ethical boundaries than narrative ones. Over time, CGI would slowly overtake puppies actually doing things, and these puppies are now just puppets that don't even move. They sit still and get voiced in post. And we end this entire franchise with Captain Megasis, Commander Drex, and the fucking Rings of Inspiron. Air Bud is a movie about grief, abuse, and a dog doing incredible things. But the Air Bud franchise? As a franchise, it refused to grieve the death of its own star. I mean, I guess if you wait through 4 minutes of the credits of Golden Receiver, you will get this small in memory of the original Buddy text at the end. To me, it feels kind of buried away. They don't even have a picture of him there. And they don't put this message in any of the other movies, despite them being built on and profiting off of this dog's legacy and likeness. Gotta keep up appearances, I guess. Dogs can't die in universe, we gotta kill them out of universe. As a franchise, it abused over 40 puppies, killing 5, and when given the choice not to distribute the movie, they decided to release the movie and profit off of all that harm that they caused. No grieving in that movie either. Closest you'll see there is that they can't put "no animals were harmed in the making of this film" in the credits. Good thing they were monitoring it. As a franchise, it doesn't even care about its main appeal. Who wants to watch dogs actually play sports when we can much more easily fake them playing sports? Oh, I have a better idea. What if instead of real puppies, we use CGI ones? What if our movie with puppies and Halloween costumes on the cover was actually about Warwick the Warlock from 1937 trying to open a portal to the Nether Realm? Based on the character Air Bud? In what fucking universe? Air Bud was a cultural icon in the 90s, probably one of the first instances of virality recorded, but the way he was treated in the early 2000s turned his legacy into garbage bargain bin yearly release slop. Kevin DeCiccio, the owner of The Real Buddy the Dog, said in an interview as recent as 2024 that he was effectively homeless. Despite this franchise built almost entirely on the dog he rescued and trained himself, grossing over $200 million, he finds himself in present day experiencing major health issues and relying on a GoFundMe to get by. It's fucking despicable, man. This franchise built on a movie about abuse and grief refuses to grieve and continues to abuse. I've actually wanted to make this video for a long time. These movies were a huge part of my childhood as a kid who loved dogs and played a lot of sports. This was my golden retriever Bessie. I would try to teach her how to play sports, but she wasn't super into it. All this to say that, man, sometimes you have an idea for a fun, niche, nostalgic video essay, and sometimes the powers that be decide to make it relevant. Air Bud Returns was recently announced as a 2026 reboot of this franchise that has been dormant for 13 years. All we know about this movie is that it takes place in a universe where the movie Air Bud exists, and a kid moving to a new town who loves basketball with a dead dad also happens to love his VHS copy of Air Bud the movie. He then finds a stray and trains it to play basketball. We don't really know a lot, so I don't know if this is trying to call every movie except the first one non-canon. I don't have high hopes for this movie. The whole meta angle feels like it's gonna be very cheesy, and I can't say I'm excited to see fucking Robert Vince at the helm again. Like, after he went off the deep end with fucking Planet Inspiron. But if this movie is trying to stay grounded and earnestly revisit the series' roots that were so callously thrown away, maybe it could be worthwhile. Part of me feels like this movie is going to further tarnish a legacy, bring his name back only to make some nostalgia baity garbage. But I really don't know. If you're somehow still watching and want to hear me talk about the reboot when it comes out, let me know in the comments. But all I know is that roughly 30 years later, they are still trying to profit off of this dead dog's name. All right, here's the Air Bud tier list. This is the good one. I don't think that's a surprise. I think the first one's the good one. Good for a kids movie. Golden Receiver, because it's kind of just the first one, but a little worse. And also, they just redid the first one, so the first one gets more credit. I think I would also put Air Buddies here. A lot of people, when they talk about this franchise, will be like, oh, the Buddies ruined Air Bud. But Air Bud kind of ruined itself before the Buddies were even a thing. And I think Air Buddies, at the very least, it's very different. I liked watching the puppies run around and have a good time. Passable. I think these movies are watchable if you're not a child. I'll go with World Pup, because World Pup doesn't mess around. Like, you get into the dog playing soccer pretty quickly, which I like. I'm also gonna go Spooky Buddies. Maybe it's just me, but I thought Spooky Buddies was actually a pretty good looking movie. Like, the set design was really colorful, and they didn't use as much CGI as the other ones. I liked looking at this movie, and the dogs are in cute costumes. I think it passes. Okay, now we're gonna go with boring, and then shouldn't exist. I think these two are just like, man, they were out of ideas. These movies I think are way more egregious than these ones, which is crazy, because this is the movie where the puppies fight off Commander Drax, and this is the movie where the puppies go to the moon. These movies are just so boring, and they really shouldn't. We're gonna make this tier just bad. And I think this goes here. I think Santa Buddies goes here. Treasure Buddies can get away with boring, I think. Spikes Back is bad, and then final tier. Damn. Okay, that's the official Air Bud tier list. Let me know how you felt about this video as a whole. Maybe 12 movies was a little ambitious for my first non-video game video, but I did have a lot of fun making this. If this video does well, I'd be interested in doing more stuff like this. Like maybe videos on the Most Valuable Primate trilogy or something else entirely that occupies a similar nostalgic space. So leave a like, subscribe, show some hype, comment, let me know what your favorite Air Bud movie is. Maybe send me some death threats about my Air Bud movie tier list. Thank you to my members and patrons, Alpine Skyline for being a high tier patron. Join the Patreon for early access to videos, sneak peeks, and behind the scenes stuff. Also, at the beginning of the video, I said I was trying to hit 100K, and I actually just hit it while editing this, so thank you for all the support so far. 100K is just an unreal number, and I'm excited to push this stupid channel even further in 2026. There's a fun video planned next to celebrate 100K, and the 1-year anniversary of the Scribblenauts video, so look forward to that in the next few weeks.